It's the Brian Lehrer Show on WNYC. I'm Bridget Bergen, filling in for Brian today. On Saturday, protesters in over 2,500 cities across the United States participated in the No Kings movement, a network of progressive organizations that are fighting against the Trump administration's policies. The movement accuses President Trump of acting more like a monarch than an elected official. In response, President Trump characteristically took to social media, but this time it was a little different. The president posted an AI-generated video depicting himself as a crown-wearing fighter pilot flying over American cities and dropping excrement on the No Kings protesters. The video is just the latest example of a shift by the president, who was using more and more fake imagery to misrepresent his achievements in office and attack his perceived opponents, sometimes with degrading images and audio. Our next guest argues the era of AI propaganda is here, and President Trump is an enthusiastic participant. Joining us now is Stuart A. Thompson, reporter at the New York Times, covering online influence. Stuart, welcome to WNYC.
Thanks for having me.
And listeners, for those of you who are out there who have seen these AI-generated images and videos coming from the Trump administration, we want to hear some of your reactions. As we'll discuss, some of the imagery can come across as pretty realistic. Maybe you know friends or family members who are scratching their heads thinking, wait, is this thing real? Do you know anyone who is supportive of this kind of political messaging? What do they tell you? Or anything you'd like to ask our guest about misinformation online and what he calls AI propaganda. You can give us a call now at 212-433-WNYC. That's 212-433-9692. You can also text at that number. Stuart, the messaging we saw from the president over the weekend, that AI-generated video of him in a crown dumping excrement on protesters from a fighter jet, you note that it's actually nothing new. So can you take us back to the origin of Trump's fascination with these videos and images?
Yeah, his use has really increased along with the technology as it's gotten more popular. And he really started using it at the very beginning of his campaign to be reelected. There was a moment during the debate with Kamala Harris where he talked about Haitians eating cats and dogs in Ohio. It was a conspiracy theory. But there was a big backlash to that, and he responded by posting images of him saving cats and dogs. And his supporters liked that. They supported it, shared those images, thought it was funny, and that was his way of sort of diffusing criticism at the time, and showed kind of the possibilities of this new technology to very quickly create images that feature a realistic version of the president with whatever he could imagine, whatever the people around him or other social media influencers could imagine. And he's really just continued down that road since then, posting all kinds of stuff, as you mentioned, up until this most recent video.
As you say, though, he's continued down this road, and yet it seems like there's been a shift. You were writing in this piece about how Trump has demonstrated a willingness to use AI-generated content to skewer opponents and stoke deeper tensions. I wonder if you can talk about some of the videos Trump has created that disparage people like Democrats like Senator Chuck Schumer and Representative Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah, and we don't totally know where these images and videos are coming from. If someone in the White House is making them, oftentimes they are credited to other influencers, so it's a little unclear exactly the origins. But yeah, recently the two Democratic leaders talking about the shutdown, Trump posted one video that was edited with AI to replicate Chuck Schumer's voice. So that's like another use case, another technology that exists. You can clone voices, and made him say a bunch of disparaging things about the Democrats. Then they also, not using AI, but using old-fashioned video editing, they put a sombrero on Hakeem Jeffries and a mustache. Then Hakeem Jeffries goes on television to talk about it, and that clip was posted later by the president using AI versions of himself depicted as a mariachi band sort of playing behind him. So doubling down once again on criticism by using AI to, I guess, mock the criticism.
A researcher you spoke to told you, quote, the more ridiculous the photo or video, the more likely it is to dominate our news feeds. How come, what sometimes seems is the most blatantly fake content seems to garner so much attention?
Yeah, there's like a visceralness to it, a potency to it. There's like maybe a bit of excitement around that the technology can do this. You can put Trump or other popular figures in strange positions in ways that you couldn't do with previous tools. Photoshop has existed for a long time. People can edit images for a long time, but this is a visceral new way to do it. And I think one of the examples that we put in the story was a video of President Obama being arrested by the FBI. That's like an AI generated video. It looks pretty convincing, though. I think even in the comments that we went through on Truth Social, a lot of people were asking if it was real. And that it's just a very potent, powerful way to use imagery. Imagery is a very powerful political tool, and this is just another tool in the toolbox that people can use to make their images and ideas come to life.
Let's go to Carrie in Greenwich Village. Carrie, you're on WNYC.
Thanks so much. I just wanted to suggest that a lot of Trump followers actually aren't on social media, particularly the older ones. And to judge from my family members, when I point out this sort of vulgarity and childishness, they're indifferent. It's just sort of shocking to me that they could witness this degradation of culture and politics and be indifferent, but I can't believe they're the only ones who feel this way among supporters.
Carrie, thank you so much for your call. Stuart, in your reporting, was there any information or analysis about why it is some of these images, as we were talking about, that are extreme and sometimes, seem to be mocking institutions, people are able to absorb, take with a grain of salt, not necessarily take as serious as those who maybe oppose those images do?
Yeah, there's you can't discount really the humor factor in this, and what some people might see as crude and offensive. We've heard from a lot of Trump supporters through this and other reporting that they find it funny, and that's a big part of his brand and his personality, his political personality. So when you take criticism that, in previous years, in previous presidencies, someone might issue an apology, someone might get fired for posting something on social media that maybe they shouldn't have or cause blowback. Trump's political instinct is to double down, and people see that as sort of a permission structure. And yeah, that's the case with the AI content as well. Like it's opening up the door to using this. And we reported on Trump's use of AI, but other institutions have used it too in the federal government since Trump was sworn in. And I think one of the prominent examples was ICE. The ICE account on X posted an AI-generated sort of looks like an anime of someone being arrested based on a real photograph. So that's just, it's broadening out the permission structure, giving people more options for what they want to post, and then the supporters and people find it funny or counterintuitive, something that they wouldn't expect the president to post.
Let's go to David in Brooklyn. David, I think you're calling in to say that you like these memes, correct?
Yes, good morning. I love your show. You're a great fill-in host. Thank you for taking my call. Yes, I think Trump is responding to a totally preposterous and ridiculous sentiment. They call it the No Kings Rally, which is total propaganda. He was voted by a majority of the population. He won the popular vote. He won the Electoral College, and there's no kings at all. This government is shut down. He can't even open it. He said during the election, I am going to deport every illegal. So there's nothing kings about him. So the left goes with this preposterous propaganda against him, and he is so good at doing this, taking the wind out of what they do. and he does it with humor, and big deal. I love it. It's great. It's the best thing that ever happened.
David, can I ask you a question? We're getting a lot of text messages from other listeners who are not as much of a fan of these style memes. And one of the sentiments that I've seen a couple different times are people writing a version of Republicans who support Trump's AI video and laugh at it are the same people who blasted Obama for disrespecting the presidency when he wore a tan suit. So just my question to you as someone who, finds this as a strategy that is effective, do you sense any double standard in terms of how some previous Democratic presidents have been treated?
Other than President Clinton remodeling the Oval Office into a bedroom, I have no problem with any color suit that Obama wore, and any president can wear any color suit they want. And I found no disrespect. I don't think Obama ever disrespected the office, so I don't agree to that at all.
Okay.
But no, so I don't see that.
David, thanks for calling. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it. Stuart, clearly David was, locking in on the humor aspect of it. What do you think? Is that some of what you're hearing from other folks who say that these are effective means of communication?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's nice to get a call like that. That's definitely a part of it. But we've also seen, he posted a version of himself as the Pope when he made a comment about that in an interview, I think, and posted an AI version of himself. And that, that's funny to some people, and to a lot of religious people, it wasn't as funny. And then you saw some unusual or unexpected pushback from that group. But yeah, he's willing to test those boundaries and test those lines, and often will double down, when faced with pushback. So if people are, upset about something or maybe what he's posting, he's more likely to post more of it. And I think you saw that in the Hakeem Jeffries example, where, people were upset about the video, called it racist, and he was happy to post a second version of it. And yeah, it's definitely his style and seems effective for a group of voters who appreciate that kind of humor.
I want to play another clip. This after the government shut down over funding earlier this month. Trump posted a video depicting himself and members of his cabinet in cloaks with Russell Vought, the director of the United States Office of Management and Budget, depicted as the Grim Reaper. The video and its AI-generated lyrics are set to Blue Oyster Cult's Don't Fear the Reaper. Let's take a listen.
Russell is the Reaper. He wields a pen, the fun's in the brain. Here comes the Reaper. Guns to your babies. Comes the Reaper. Gonna tie your hands. Here comes the Reaper. Won't be able to fly. Here comes the Reaper. Baby, end your plan.
So, Stuart, you write about how the video was created by Dilly 3000 Meme Team. Can you tell us a bit more about who is making this content for the president?
Yeah, this is one example. They're sort of a guerrilla messaging outfit. They collaborate together online. They organize online. It's run by a podcaster, former congressional candidate named Brendan Dilley. And they make pro-Trump media of all kinds with the goal of making it go viral. He's said a few times that the truth doesn't matter. All you have to do is go viral, kind of reflecting their philosophy. And by whatever means they post it, it gets in Trump's orbit, and he's reposting it on his Truth Social account. But they've made a number of these types of content, and it's proven very successful for them. They're very active and very sort of ruthless about it. They'll go very far and try a bunch of different things to see what they can get to hit. And this is, and it's an AI generated video. It also uses a bunch of editing. It's a pretty sophisticated piece of material, even though the content is supposed to be funny and talks about an issue that's maybe not so funny.
Stuart, there's other groups. The Door Brothers was another example you wrote about that has created some of this viral AI content, so-called AI artists. It sounds like these are folks who are doing this work. Do we know if they're being paid or commissioned by the Trump administration in any way?
We don't know that. It wouldn't surprise me that, like this, as the technology gets more advanced and is easier to use, that there's going to be more and more groups in a more official capacity using this content and using the tools to create it. This is kind of the purpose of the story a little bit is to try to show that this tools is normalized now as what you might think of as, photography in the past or video in the past. Now it's AI. It's just going to be part of the political discussion. And it has been for, since it was sort of rolling out around 2022, since the image and video tools got sophisticated enough. We have seen it in other elections. Far right parties will use it to bring to life anti-immigrant messages using, sometimes obviously fake images, but it is, again, so that potency they get out of it to connect with voters. So yeah, we'll probably see it in official channels, in official campaigns, but then also sort of these more guerrilla units that are bouncing around. And the Door Brothers, they're like more of a, they're non-political. They're creating like what they would think of as AI art, but that's another aspect to it. It's getting more sophisticated. There's money going into an investment and companies and groups set up to be able to do it. So, yeah, you can definitely imagine part of the political strategy budget is going to be poured into groups that are able to make AI content in the future, if not already.
So, Stuart, my understanding is, this kind of content is widely referred to as AI slop. It's a derogatory term used to describe the more nonsensical AI-generated content, but you call it AI propaganda in your recent piece. So when does this AI slop become propaganda?
Well, it's coming from the president. It's pushing a political message, and even the cases where it's kind of sort of looks like slop, as in looks very AI and fake, or it's trying to be funny. There's an underlying political message to it. Sometimes that message is just mockery, as the caller was trying to suggest with the excrement video. And other times it's attacking a specific group or, a political opponent, a rival. So yeah, there's a political underpinning to all this stuff, and it's probably everything that Trump does, including all of his Truth Social posts, are aimed at that goal. And yeah, we're seeing it again more from other institutions, agencies, and political groups around the world are using it as well.
Stuart, a listener wrote a text that reads, "AI-generated propaganda is a horrible new trend, but how does your guest feel about California Governor Gavin Newsom fighting back against Trump using similar AI imagery? Isn't this the start of an ugly new trend among candidates of both parties?"
Yeah, that's definitely the reality that we're entering. Newsom's willing to use the tool, and it's just a tool. It can be used for good or bad. It can be helpful. There's videos Trump posted that are just him dancing with Elon Musk. That's it's political and such that he's a collaborator, was at the time, and they had ideas for working together, but isn't demeaning necessarily or very strongly political. But yeah, it's opening up that permission structure for people to use it, and it's almost irresistible, I think, now for a lot of political candidates. We're also looking at sort of lower down the totem pole for political candidates at the local level. For them, and we hear this from AI advocates, it's a useful tool. It's a way for them to create better material. That might resonate better with people with a much lower budget. The stuff is cheap, it's easy to use.
Sure.
And so we'll probably see more and more of that as well.
Stuart A. Thompson is a reporter at the New York Times covering online influence. You're going to be very busy, I think. Thank you so much for making some time for us today.
Thank you.